gonna say we can't watch BET and you in the church laying it low and spreading it wide.
Let's go ahead and call a spade a spade. We judge people that we should not be judging, because who are we to judge? Because look at yourself in the mirror and say, can I judge anybody else if I can't judge myself?
Christ didn't sit up there gossiping about Judas to Peter. He ain't hit Peter up like, man, let me tell you, this dude about to betray me. No, he sat there and he broke bread with him. Hey, welcome to the Trigger Happy Hour, where we take shots of the truth straight with no chase.
It's your host that do the most, Daquan Darnisha, and get ready as we dive deep, laugh loud, and unpack triggers you've been dodging.
Buckle up, y'all, because healing ain't always pretty,
but it's always real.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Daquan. I like to challenge my patient's thought process. You know, life can be a little bit sour, so let's go ahead and get some sweet tips and sprinkle some sugar on that rim so we can take this shot nice and sweet.
All right, and it's your girl Darnisha, licensed mental health counselor, mommy of 2. I like to give it to you straight with no chase, but sometimes I know I gotta deliver it to you sweet with a little sugar on the rim. Either way it go, I'm gonna give it to you 100 proof truth.
So in this segment, we're gonna do a simple song check-in to go ahead and check that mental health. What song do you got for us today, babe?
So the song that I have to best describe how I am feeling today, I'm gonna give y'all that glow, okay? It's 7 p.m. Friday. It's 95 degrees. Yeah, I ain't got ain't got me. I'm feeling like Big Glow, not the little one. You heard me?
Yeah, come on, Big Glow. All right. I gotta give it to Uproar by my man Wheezy F, baby. Please say the baby. You know what I'm saying? That's how I'm feeling. I'm feeling very upbeat today. What's going on with today's topic?
Okay, real quick though, I see you over there looking like
Girl, don't get me. Yeah, stop it, girl. Don't get me hyped.
All right, so today's topic is that good old church hurt.
Church hurt. I mean, I think we all have experienced that every now and again. Can I get an amen?
Well,
these are those emotional wounds that people experience inside spiritual or religious spaces. You know, these are coming from the leaders or members of the community they once trusted.
Right. Again, so coming from those trusted communities and those trusted leaders, and it's something that's really, really, really impactful in the African American community. But before we begin, I do want to acknowledge that this conversation may bring up some sensitive emotions, betrayal, rejection, grief, or even experiences of abuse. So if at any point you start to feel overwhelmed, I encourage you guys to take a pause, take a few grounding breaths, woosah, okay? And come back when you feel ready, because your well-being is our priority. Again, though, this is not a substitution for therapy. If you need professional help, make sure you take care of that. Make sure you seek professional help. We are just a sounding board. So we're going to get into it. So, Daquan, why you think it's important for us to talk about this today?
Because it hurts when hurt comes from the place we don't expect, like a safe space. It cuts deep. I mean, when I say it cuts deep, it cuts deep. It doesn't just affect our relationship with people. It can impact how we also see ourselves.
Right. And church hurt can take on many forms, and that includes being shamed or feeling judged instead of feeling supported by the church community, having your experiences or your feelings dismissed or minimized, witnessing or experiencing misuse of power, and then feeling excluded or silenced when you needed connection from the church congregation. So often, instead of these things being addressed, people are told to just move on or be quiet or just pray about it. Why don't you pray a little bit harder? Why don't you just pray about it? But the pain does not go away. It sits in that body until it's given a space to heal. So we definitely need to address this today. Yeah. So I do want to know, though, I know me, myself, I have personally experienced some church hurt. What about you? Have you ever been affected by this?
Yes. Growing up, I was very into the church, you know, especially in my teenage years, when you get around other young people that, you know, actually celebrate God with you. I got real close with those individuals until the point where I felt a sense of betrayal. It was my birthday. I was probably turning 19, I think 20. I think it had to be 20, right? So I had two, I'm going to tell my age, MySpaces, right? I had the church page. I was very churchy, conservative. I had my gospel music on there. And then I also had my sinners page. You know what I'm saying? One Sunday, I didn't go to church. I ended up celebrating with my cousin. We ended up getting drunk. And, I ended up putting on my second MySpace page, right? Thinking nobody from the church would be able to see this. I don't think we even had the option to put it as private or not, right? And so one of the ops, quote unquote, was lurking and found my page and reported it. They ended up pulling somebody that I called my sister, or quote unquote had a little crush on too. Pulled her in because they knew that me and her spoke often. So I confided in her that I tried smoking marijuana when I was, in high school and stuff like that. That was years ago before I moved back to New York, right? And so she used that and told them that I had a substance abuse problem. Now I'm supposed to be fire baptized, Holy Ghost filled, all these things, right? It ended up getting to the apostle, and they ended up taking away all the things I enjoyed, like performing in the youth choir. We was actually supposed to they had a street festival held every year during the summer for the community to come out and enjoy, hear the word of God, eat, fellowship, and all those things. Girl, when I said we was in rehearsing, yo, I'm ready to perform this for the youth festival and all that. Baby, when I say that thing got snatched down so quick, I couldn't even perform in the youth choir, like do any youth events.
So that's a lot to process. So it sounds like what happened was it was your birthday. Your birthday was on a Sunday this particular year. You were younger. You decided to party. You posted some things on MySpace. You had two alternative pages. You had the conservative page for the church folk, and then you had your turn up page. And what ended up happening was the feds was watching that turn up page. The feds was watching, right?
Yeah,
So
listen,
somebody went back to the apostle, said, "Hey, Daquan on here doing X, Y, and Z." Then somebody that you were close to, in addition to not just blasting you out for what you posted on social media, added some more to that, making it
right,
appear as if you had a substance abuse problem because you had confided in them that, yeah, I have smoked marijuana before. So then, as a result of that, you had some things taken away from you. You were taken away from the youth choir. You couldn't participate in the festival. So all these things that you had looked forward to was yanked away from you by somebody that you trusted. So that kind of put a damper on you as far as your church experience moving forward.
exactly.
Okay. And I know that had to be a lot for you, especially being that young and not really having any proper guidance or wanting somebody to just come to you and talk to you. And like it didn't sound like there was an opportunity for a second chance. It was kind of like, this is your punishment.
It was. And I was also going through a lot, right? I was battling eternally as well with myself, not only with that situation, but during
Mm-hmm.
that time, my sexuality, right? So I was struggling. I was like, oh my God, I was having that eternal struggle with my coming out, my sexuality as well. And being in this space of religious background, I know this is wrong. This is wrong. I
Mm-hmm.
should not be doing this. So battling those two conflicts with my trust being severed to not even trusting myself internally because I'm questioning myself about the things that is going through my body right now. What's happening with my body? Like, why am I having these thoughts about these men? You know what I'm saying? These men,
Mm-hmm.
you
Right.
know,
Men's and them.
the men's and them. You know, listen.
Yes.
So it was just a lot during that time. So, yeah, that as a child, when I sit back there and process it right now, yeah, that was something. But yeah, I made it.
And you thank God you made it. You made it
Yeah,
through.
I did.
You made it. I can sing well, in the
You know,
shower. But
okay.
let me
Listen, I got a good shower voice too.
So it sounds like, though, you were already battling some trust issues with people in the church, even with that incident as far as them reporting your MySpace. So you definitely didn't feel comfortable enough. You didn't feel like it was a safe space to disclose your sexuality. So that's something that you felt at that point you had to keep hidden away from others because you had been shunned with the whole social media thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. And I know that that was very difficult for you during that time.
Yeah, it really was during that time. And people don't understand this again, it affects us because that was a safe space and it cuts deeper because it was a
Right.
safe space. But all in all, I also was able to process some things. Even right now, I was able to help process some things internally. I was like, oh wow, huh, that connects to why I'm doing this. I'm glad I was able to go through that experience, my former church hurt, so I can also begin a healing process as well. Because even though I was hurt, it's still healing that I have to do. So with my church experience, you hearing about my church experience, girl, let's go ahead and talk about yours because I heard you earlier say that you had experienced your own church hurt. So what's the
Yes,
tea
I
on that one,
have.
girl?
Okay. Clock it. Did I do it right? Clock that T. Is like you
Hey,
gotta do it real
okay, look
fast
at
like
you,
that.
dude.
Ah,
Okay.
okay. All right. Clock
You
that
can
T.
tell you were
Okay.
somebody's mom.
I am somebody's mama. I'm two somebody's mamas. My church hurt started at a very, very, very young age. I had to be about 6 years old. And during this time, I didn't know the extent of what was going on, but I just knew whatever was happening was not right. And I would just say, we having slumber parties at the pastor's house with his wife and kids. They were coming over to our house. These were like our friends. And next thing I know, I don't know what the time frame was, but let's just say within a year, I'm just assuming he was moving me, my siblings, and my mom across the country. Like we moved from Michigan to Tennessee. So he went from being pastor, like that's pastor, to
Yeah.
stepdad, right? And at that young age, I didn't understand what was going on, but I just felt in my heart like it's not right. And then when I got older and I was old enough to ask questions, I found out that he was taking advantage of multiple women within the congregation. But we couldn't watch BET. There was no HBO. There was no Cinemax. And I'm like, how you gonna say we can't watch BET and you in the church laying it low and spreading it wide? I mean, you over there, you got a woman over there. You get some, you get some. You he giving it out like Oprah on
And then
business.
why?
You feel me? You know? So
Listen,
I had a problem with that and that really bothered me growing up and I just really had trust issues pertaining to men in the church. And not only that, he abandoned us after just a couple of months. And here I am 6 years old taking care of my 1-year-old brother because my mom had to work because this man had left us high and dry. Now, when it comes to like being around men in church, I'm gonna give you that side hug, that little pat on the back, if I give you a hug at all. Because I really don't want to be in close proximity to you like that. And I definitely don't want to be around you if your wife is not in attendance or close by. So I really try to avoid being in situations because I don't want nobody thinking I want your man or is it no, and I don't want your man thinking that he has a chance with me because he don't and
and
don't.
down.
So that was my church hurt.
Wow. So that's a lot to process, especially during that time frame as an adolescent. You know, like you said, the time frame was different. Like from within a year's time, from pastor to stepdad.
Mhm.
Stepdad, you moving me to a whole new state.
Mhm.
On top of you bringing in rules that nigga, I don't know you other than you being a pastor and you coming in this house where you can't tell me I can't sit there and watch my BET and I sit at that my HBO and then you're gonna have the nerve to abandon us. That sounds like a lot to have processed during that time. What was that process for you like? As far as now that you can sit there and think about it now.
I feel as if like right now, I'm still just a little bit guarded. I also though, like I'm a person of second, third, fourth, fifth, 10. I don't categorize everybody as being the same. So I'm definitely the person that will give you the benefit of the doubt. But I will say that a turning point for me was at the first church that I attended when I moved to Indianapolis. Our pastor retired and then we ended up getting a new pastor. And one of the things he said, I'm going to let you guys down. I'm going to make you angry. I'm going to do some things you don't like. And that was my first time humanizing a preacher. And I'm like, at the end of the day, a man is a man. A human is a human. And you shouldn't put these pastors and deacons and preachers on this pedestal because they're human just like we are. And who are we to judge them for the mistakes that they make when we make mistakes on a daily basis?
Right. Right.
So that was the turning point for me.
And it sounds like you process it enough to, like you said, recognize that, hey, you just because you have this title of a man of God, don't mean you are God. You know what I'm saying? You are on this high pedestal, like, oh, you do no wrong when you're a human. Human, we're gonna be wrong, right? So let's say his name was Joe, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't sound like Pastor is the one that persuaded your mom to move you. It sounds like Joe was the individual that said, "Hey, you gonna move to this state with your kids, and I'm gonna move in to
Mm-hmm.
take over." So it was a difference between the man of God and the man. Pastor is the man of God. Joe is the man. So that means
Mm-hmm.
Joe took control of the power that he had over his congregation and kind of abused it. It sounds like.
Right. Right. I'm glad you brought that up because that's the perfect segue into this next section where we talk about why church hurt even happens, right? Using the example that you gave about they saw you on social media, right? And then they reported that you were drinking and smoking and all that. So, why do you think they made the decision to sit you down instead of allowing you to just be a part of the festival and continue to remain in the choir? Why do you think that happened?
I feel honestly, for what I think, it's because that's how that church operates. When you fall from grace, if you do one inkling thing wrong,
Mhm.
you no longer at grace. You have fallen. You have fallen. And so it's not like they kind of give you a second chance. You have to earn your way back to that position no matter how long. You have to earn your way back. So, and
Okay.
I think that was a misuse of power. Yes, I understand what you're trying to do, but hey, you see, this is a young man. This is somebody that's lost. Let's, bring him in, hold him, and comfort him and say, hey, we all make mistakes, but this is not what you need to do. It could have
Right.
been sometimes you could have just sat there and talked to me and said, hey, this is how we do things, especially if I'm just now being sidebar. I moved recently. I just moved back to New York. I will only be up there for the summer, so they will only see me during the summer. So they know Quan, but they also know Quan during the summer. They didn't see me every day. But I think they taken the fact that my grandparents also had a title in the church, and so I should have followed suit.
Got you. So it sounds like you feel as if they didn't extend enough grace to you, considering that you were younger and that you weren't like somebody that showed up every day or a familiar face that they saw all the time. But because of your connections, who you were connected to, the expectations, spiritual expectations for you were up here when
Mhm,
you felt as if maybe that was unfair.
mhm,
Now I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit in regards to why they probably operated the way that they did. And what you
mhm.
saying, you believe that that's the way the church was. When we thinking about churches, some of them have been around for a long time and they have these traditions and they
Yeah,
value their appearance. And so that tradition or that appearance of the church may have overshadowed your actual well-being. So it was at the expense of you. So we
yeah,
can't have this going on with anybody associated with our church, or that's going to make our church look bad. So sometimes, you know, there's church hurt that occurs because there's a fear of conflict or a fear of losing members or a fear of admitting mistakes. So they do things their way in order to alleviate those members leaving the congregation because you got brother such and such out here wilding out on MySpace. How can you do that? Or, other churches or other pastors calling them up. Hey, you see what your members doing? So it's
right,
like,
right.
okay, let me sit this one down because it's like an infection, right? Like a bad
Yeah,
apple spoils
yeah.
when they say one bad apple spoils the bunch.
Pause.
So if we go biblical, all right, you know the story of the sheep that wandered off,
Mhm,
and then that shepherd left the 99 to
uh-huh.
go get that
To
one
go
sheep
get
and
that
bring
one.
them back, right? That's not always the case, though. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, that's just one sheep. In your case, you was the sheep
Yeah,
that nobody went to bring in to save.
yeah, yeah. And it was like F that sheep. out there.
Right.
And that's it.
Yeah. So I definitely get how that could make you feel as a young man, and that was supposed to be your safe space. And to your point, like you had enough sense to know to have two different MySpace pages. You had enough sense to know that, but you didn't think that the consequence would be that detrimental.
Right. Right.
Okay. So going into the impact of church hurt, what you got to say about that?
The impact of church hurt can last, as you can tell from, our stories. It has a long lasting effect sometimes, right? When it comes to difficulties with trusting groups or authority figures, questioning your worth or identity. And your anxiety also, like you feel kind of like, oh my God, anxious and not wanting to, again, for me, not wanting to fellowship with other individuals because I have been tarnished. I feel tarnished. I'm saying, right? And then you're gonna be emotionally isolated. Choosing to withdraw because connection no longer feels safe.
Right,
Connection no
right,
longer feels safe.
right. And when you no longer feel safe and you start to isolate yourself, you also start to kind of blame yourself. Did I
Yeah.
do something wrong? Could I have done something differently? And then that makes that pain even heavier. Heavy.
So, with that being said, how can we actually start healing from our church hurt?
I think the first thing to do is acknowledging that you actually had it. It's always important to acknowledge and validate your feelings. Your feelings are real. Your feelings belong to you. So
Yeah.
for some, that might mean taking some space. How many times have you just taken a break from church, or you found a new community, or you just stayed and just weathered through the storm? You got to do what feels safe and healthy for you, but you definitely got to acknowledge this hurt me. Sister
Yeah.
such and such hurt me, or brother such and such hurt me, or what pastor said really stuck to me. So acknowledge that pain and acknowledge that hurt.
Yes. Yes, we should definitely do that. And I would say, well, some tools we can use for healing that can also help us in that healing journey process, right? There's two things I like to do. I know typically I say journaling, but there's another one I love as well. It's called meditation. Meditation, I can sit there and center myself, ground myself, start to find that inward peace within. Meditation can last between 3 minutes to 10 minutes. It just really depends on how you feel. What's another way that you would recommend?
I think it's important to create boundaries. Boundary setting is extremely important, not just with dealing with church hurt, but any type of situation, setting those boundaries with people. If it's not a safe space or you don't feel trusted, like you're in an environment where you can trust people, protecting your peace is not disloyalty, it's self-care.
It's very much self care. One thing we also have to take in consideration as well is we have to speak kindly to ourselves. We can't be so hard on ourselves. There's a lot, like you said earlier, like when you started to start having those negative things. What did I do wrong? Like, how could I have done something better? Be kind to yourself because there's nothing that you will be able to do, at that moment. When things happens, we can't go back to those shoulda, coulda, woulda. I should have did this. I should have did that. Because when you keep doing that, then you put yourself in that negative mind space, and it's easier said than done. Because me, I had to switch my mind thing. That's when that CBT started to come in, right? Because I used to do that negative self talk, and then I had to stop myself. I'm sorry. Instead of doing that negative self talk, I said, let me find something positive about myself that I like and focus on that.
Right. And speaking of that, not only speaking positive energy and positive vibes into yourself, but speak that positive energy into other people, right? Especially when it's pertaining to church. People think that they got to go to church when they had their stuff together. Oh, you go to church to get your stuff together. The church is full of sinners. So when somebody, a young person or whoever, is walking into the congregation, they're walking into a safe space. All the whispering when they leave, and you see what such and such and such and such had on. You see this, you heard blah 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 blah. Why not help me? You talking about my outfit? You got some money? Can you buy me something? Do you have something you can donate to my wardrobe? Christ is love. Christ didn't sit up there gossiping about Judas to Peter. He ain't hit Peter up like, man, let me tell you, this dude about to betray me. No, he sat there and he broke bread with him. So if you're talking about being Christ-like, Be Christ-like. Christ is love. Christ is not gossip. Christ is not church hurt. Now, I'm all about accountability. Somebody do something wrong, yes, you correct them, but you correct them in love.
It's funny how you're throwing
Stones.
stones, and baby, your glass is over there back there is shattered, but you want to shatter somebody else's. Let's not do that. How about you focus on you, and instead of speaking negative, like you said, speak positive too, because you don't know what that person is going through. You don't know what that person is going through mentally. You don't know if that person's mom is sick and they just could not get it together this morning, but all they knew that had to make it to the house of the Lord to get their spiritual healing that they need or whatever they was coming to church for. We should not be judging. Let's go ahead and call a spade a spade. We judge people that we should not be judging because who are we to judge? Look at yourself in the mirror and say, can I judge anybody else if I can't judge myself?
Clock it. All right, y'all. So I know we covered a lot today. We talked about the forms of church hurt. We talked about why it happens. We talked about the impact that it can have on you. And we also gave you some great tools on how you can begin the healing process and utilize those therapeutic tools to heal from your church hurt. So we know that your healing matters, your experiences are real, and there are safe spaces where you can process, grieve, and begin to rebuild trust at your own pace. You have any closing reflections, Daquan, before we go into our Q&A segment?
Just make sure that, again, you remember that this is not a substitution for therapy, right? We want you to make sure that you seek the proper help that you need, even if it's just to talk to somebody. Listen, I don't care if you just want to talk to them about maybe you stumped your toe. Maybe go talk to somebody because instead of being up in here, release it, let it out. Don't hold it in because maybe that pressure pot is gonna explode if you continue to let that pressure build.
Yes, release that thing. All right, y'all. Well, we are going to go into our Q&A segment today.
It's time for the Q&A. 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 It's time for the Q&A.
All right. Daquan, you got that Q&A question for us?
The Q&A question of the day is coming from a little place called H-Town, Houston, Texas, from Tina. She is asking, when is it appropriate to speak about mental health in the Black community?
When is it appropriate to speak about mental health in the Black community? Well, Tina from H-Town, the time is now, baby. What better time than now? Why put off tomorrow what you can do today? Speak your speech. If you have something to say, if you have something to talk about, find a trusted space, a trusted individual, and talk about it. Talk to a professional, whatever it is that you're going through.
Yes, you definitely make sure you go talk to somebody. Like she said, speak to somebody. Baby, there's somebody in your circle that you know that you can rely on and like talk to. Tell them how you are mentally. Even if you can't even understand how to put it in words, baby, just talk until you can try to find the words to say it. Because eventually it's gonna come out, right? Because you don't want to have those issues. Baby, check that mental. If you can go to the gym and you can go work out physically, baby, if you can go out to these clubs and have a good time socially, if you can even sit there and argue with your person that you don't need to be arguing with, baby, that's not healthy. How about you go talk to somebody? All right. All right, now, and this one we're going to call the affirmation and action of the day. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and draw from these affirmation cards that I got right here. So we have two things. Let's go ahead and see what it is. I am kind to myself. That is the affirmation. And the action is look through old photos. Go back into the old memory lane and just reminisce on those old pictures. Go pick up that phone and scroll through and say, oh, baby, look at mom. I miss her. Just go back and reminisce on those good old times. All right?
Yes. So thank y'all for joining us today. Remember, taking care of your mental health is just as important as taking care of your physical health. Be gentle with yourself this week, and we'll see y'all next time. Pull up a bar stool. Join us on the Trigger Happy Hour. Peace.
And that's a wrap for this round of Trigger Happy Hour, where we take shots of the truth with no chaser. Just raw conversations where the shots are sharp and it takes a sharper, and nothing gets off the table. If you like what you heard, hit that follow button, leave a review, and tell someone who can handle the heat. Pull up a bar stool next week for more real talk. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until then, stay bold, stay loud, and don't water it down. Cheers.